All right. Yeah, I think we can start. I hope everyone's ready. This will be partially a lecture, partially a workshop. We're going to walk through the workshop together. So, hey everyone. Thanks for attending this nice and short session. My name is Yanir. I'm part of the Fireblocks solution engineering team. And I have today with me Alon Goltzman. Alon, raise your hand. Slava Serebriani, leading the solution team, and also Avi Bashan is the head of our Web3 R&D team. So we're gonna mainly talk about three things today. So first of all, we'll have a very brief interview of what's Fireblocks. We're gonna see an example project done utilizing Fireblocks offerings, and then last but not least, we'll get our hands dirty a bit and we'll work together to accomplish something similar. So what is Fireblocks? Fireblocks is a non-custody, institutional grade vault infrastructure. Basically speaking, Fireblocks utilizes three main aspects which makes it unique and very secure. The first one, multi-party computation, MPC. So when we talk about multi-party computation in the crypto world, we're basically talking about multiple parties having the possibility, having the option to perform some kind of compute, some kind of action with some secret data they have on their side without revealing it to the other parties that do the computation as well. In addition, we also use what we call hierarchical deterministic wallets, HD wallets. So these wallets, these types of wallets, basically let you, instead of generating large sets of keys, you just generate a single set of keys and you derive from it on the fly when you do your computation. Last but not least, those of you who've had some experience with the crypto world, maybe you started with MetaMask, maybe you just generated some seed to use your wallet. Maybe you had a point where you had to share your key with someone else, but you couldn't actually limit them from doing certain actions. This is where Fireblocks basically is very unique. We can limit you, right? You can limit other users within your workspace. You can segregate duties and create more proper workflows and transfer workflows. All right, so when we talk about MPC in the Fireblocks world, we're basically looking at a three entities party. So each one of these parties are generating a private key on their side. Two of these parties, they reside within Fireblocks, and the third party actually resides with the customer, either on his mobile phone or on his own secure server, which makes Fireblocks non-custodian. So assuming we want to send a simple transaction to the blockchain, this transaction is being broadcast to all three parties, and then each and every one generates a partial signature. What happens later on, it's a bit blurry, you can't see it, but all of these partial signatures are being sent to what we call an aggregator. This aggregator takes all three, combines them, and then sends a full signature, a signed message to the blockchain. Now, if you went with me through this, basically what happened is each of the parties here signed the transaction, and as a whole, they acted as a key. So we can understand two things here. First, if one of these parties is compromised, the whole key is not compromised, right? So even if your mobile phone is stolen or your server got hacked, still the whole key is not compromised, meaning your funds are not compromised. And last but not least, it means the signing can't be done only by one of the parties or two of the parties, right? You need all of three of them to be available to actually sign the message and send it successfully to the blockchain. So before we see an example of how we utilized Fireblocks in a really cool project, I want to talk shortly about some offerings Fireblocks has. So, leaving the fact Fireblocks is very, very secure, we also want to open the product and share it with people with more of a programmatic access, who want to use it in a more programmatic way. So, first of all of the actions that you can do with Fireblocks, they're all revealed through API endpoint, right? So whatever language it is you're coding with, you can just access these HTTP endpoints and work with them. We also, on top of that, have SDKs, software development kits, in Python, JavaScript, Java also coming soon. So if you're familiar with these languages, you already have tools ready for you to start working. And another really cool feature we released not too late ago is the NFT engine. So the NFT engine basically lets you interact with NFTs, get their metadata, and many more things we'll see today. Two tools we saw that our customers asked for, and it was really useful to develop this. The first one was what we call the Web3 provider. It's an EIP 1193 compliant Web3 provider. So you can integrate this with your Ethers.js code, your Web3.js code. If you're already familiar with these tools, you can just use it. And secondly, we also offered a Hardhead plugin. So for those of you who are less familiar, Hardhead is kind of the go-to-market solution for deploying contracts, managing them. You can do it very easily. You just install the plugin, you configure it correctly. We'll go through this today, and you can just deploy your contracts through Fireblocks. All right, so let's see an example of how we utilized Fireblocks and its different offerings into a really cool project. So we actually came up with kind of an NFT glossary project. You could sign up to the website. So that's really the first phase of interacting with the web app we created. You would sign up and directly would already use the SDKs to actually create a wallet for you in Fireblocks. Now, once you've signed up, you would log in and you would see this really nice screen giving you some data of a collection, Pixelad. So this collection, this is an NFT collection, was deployed through the Hardhead plugin. So not just that we deployed the contract using Fireblocks, we also wanted to interact with the contract through Fireblocks. So you saw that generate button from before. When you actually clicked it, what happened is there was some code in the backend utilizing a Web3 provider to call Fireblocks and perform a contract call, minting your NFT. So once this transaction was complete, using the NFT engine, we returned the data to the app of the pixeled, its image, and its attributes. And the NFT engine obviously was used not just to respond with the data, but actually get the whole data that resides within your wallet, your tokens. You can see the different pixel ads we minted here with their different images and attributes. Now, what's really nice about the NFT engine, although we used it for a web app, we also have the very same view within the Fireblocks console. And we'll see an example of that today. So we don't have much time left, 25 minutes. I hope we're gonna make it to the end. I'll share with you a very cool guide that we can do together. Those of you who do have laptops, feel free to scan the QR code and run with me. Those of you who don't, I'll do it myself as well. We do have some technical issues here with the Wi-Fi, so if you have hotspot or something like that, feel free to follow along.
Could we use it after the workshop?
Right, so I'm getting to it, just a second.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so just to make sure you guys capture this, this QR code will lead you to this page. All right, and you have the password. This page is password protected. It's a really simple and nice password. I hope you'll remember. It's called Web Shop. 3 replacing the E, 0 replacing the O. If you've noticed, most of you had papers on your chairs. These are basically leading to a Google Drive folder that has the secret key and API key we'll use to interact with Fireblocks through the SDKs. Now, before we proceed, all what we run today, I want you to know that we're now opening an early access to our sandbox environment. This also resides within the document. You can just use this form to sign up. It's a bit blurry. When you open it on your computer, it will be showing better. You can sign up for an early access to our sandbox environment. All what we do today, you can later on do by yourself, maybe even other things you feel like doing. All right. So those of you who are with a computer, you can access the Google Drive folder. What we're going to do is we're going to download the secret key. And we'll open the Google Sheet here. So each one of you had a number on your paper. So just pick the corresponding API key. All right. If your number is 8, take the 8th API key. All right. Now we'll start by creating an account. So I really love Python. I'm gonna run with Python here. And yeah, we'll start by setting that up. So first things first, I actually already placed the secret key in here and I copied my API key. It's over here. What I'll do, I'll just copy this code snippet. I'll put it here. Now I'll place my API key accordingly and I'll put a path for the secret key. So this is just a very simple setup of starting with Fireblocks, right? So I already had the Fireblocks SDK installed with pip. If you're running with JavaScript, just do it with npm. And this is like the very first configuration of the Fireblocks SDK object. Now, the next thing we're going to do is create our wallet. So you can see there's a reference to the Fireblocks APIs here. By the way, this is open for everyone. You can freely access it whenever you want. What we're going to do is we're going to call the create a new vault account endpoint and print the response.
Yanir, should we check just to make sure everyone's at the same step?
Sure. Yeah, we don't have so much time, so yeah, we're gonna run with it anyhow. All right.
I'll just mention, you guys can follow the guide also after the session if you want to try it for yourself.
Yep.
The environment will be open until tomorrow, end of the day, so you can try it out by yourself. And if you're running it right now and you're having some technical issues, let us know. We'll help you too. Just raise your hand.
Yep, just raise your hand. When we'll finish the session, I will leave the QR code that you've seen in the beginning on the screen so you can keep the link. All right, so we'll start by creating a new Vault account. The name would be BuildingBlocks. And yeah, we'll just run this. All right, so I have a new vault created. I'm capturing the ID. I'm going to use this very soon. So for those of you who are running with this, make sure you're saving the ID. We will use this later on. So an account is named Vault in Fireblocks. I'm just going to keep the Vault ID here. So I'll have it for later use. All right. So what I'm going to do next is I'll check the balance for, I'll create the asset first, all right? I'll add, so I created an account, now I want to add a wallet for ETHTLV. That's actually Go early in Fireblocks, that's the symbol for it. So I'll replace this endpoint with create vault asset. It's going to ask for the vault ID I just captured. And the asset ID would be ETHTLV. Once again, it's written in the guide. This stands for the Goerli network. All right, so I'll also keep my address here in case we'll need to use this later on. All right, so this is a real quick overview of Fireblocks. Just so you know, we will be sending automatically some ETH tasks to your wallet, so you can already start running without looking for faucets and stuff like that. All right, now next things is we're gonna verify that we do have the balance within the vault account. All right, so that's called the get vault account asset endpoint. All right, so this one also accepts the vault account ID and the asset ID. All right, let's wait for the transaction to finish. Yeah. I'm running this again, and you can see I have 0.3 ETH on my Goerli wallet. Great.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How do you access, I missed the point, the stage where you initialize the wallet. How do you access this wallet? I mean, is it by using the Fireblocks PC?
Yeah, right. So once again, if also on the paper and also if you follow the guide, you basically get an access to a Google Drive folder. All right, you have there an API key, which gives you access to the very same thing I'm showing you, and the secret key to sign your requests. All right, this is just making sure the requests that are coming are valid. Now, regarding the setup, when you start the guide, right, there's an example of how to set it up. Just follow the steps.
Yeah. So behind the scenes, I use the API in order to communicate with the Fireblocks
Exactly.
server, and the server uses its own
Yep.
signature.
Exactly. Once again, guys, I'll leave the QR here so you can scan it and run it on your own later on. All right, so we verified the balance on our wallet. We know we have some ETH tasks, so I don't need to fund my wallet. I can just go on to the next step. All right, now this is where this gets pretty cool. We're gonna use hard hat to run this. So going back to the terminal, I'll just create a new folder to have my hard hat files segregated and well ordered. So I'll first install hard hat. This is gonna take a short while. So once again, everything I'm running here through is written in the guide. You can follow it. I'm not picking anything from my brain. It's all well written, and you can follow this step by step. All right, what we're gonna do afterwards is we'll initialize hard hat, and we'll create a JavaScript project. So the guide here basically follows a JavaScript project. Everything is written in JavaScript. If you feel more familiar, you feel well with writing in TypeScript, you can do it on your own. Try to mimic the steps that are written here into your TypeScript project, but basically we'll run with a JavaScript project in here. All right, I'll execute hard hat, and I'll create a JavaScript project. So it asks for the path, git ignore, which we don't really need, but I approved it anyhow, and a sample project. All right. So we will delete the sample solidity file, which comes with the project, and we're actually going to implement our own solidity file, which makes our NFT collection. This is what we're gonna do. All right. Now, before we move on, we're gonna install a few dependencies. So the first one would be OpenZaplin contracts. This will let us compile the Solidity file, which imports from OpenZaplin and not locally. Next, we're gonna install the Hardhat plugin from Fireblocks. This exists on our GitHub page, so you can access the GitHub page. Just go there. You can see the project. You can see the code. Feel free to go through it. And another one last dependency. And we're good to go. So next things next, we're gonna configure Hardhat as we want it. So I'll just copy the content that appears here. What I'm gonna do is I'll put the RPC URL for Goerli. Then I'll just put the BuildingBlocks secret, which is the key you've downloaded, my API key. And if you recall from the last step, we wanted to save the Vault ID. I'm going to copy the Vault ID here. All right. All right, so this is our Solidity file. There's a bit more in the end, but our main things that are here is that this is an ERC collection, ERC 721 collection. It's an NFT collection. It's ownable and it's self-incrementing the IDs of the tokens. I'll just copy the Solidity file and I'll save this under the contracts folder within my project. So this will be named Space Bunnies. This will be our very cool NFT collection. And that's it. We're going to use Hardhat to compile the project. And seems like we are good to go. So last but not least, we'll copy the deployment script, the deploy.js script. There should be one here by default. Just override the content here. All right, there's nothing to replace within the file. Just copy it, and you can run the execution. Right?
Yanir, any chance that you can spend 2 minutes on actually what's happening, like Hardhat and the Hardhat plugin, how, like the entire configuration, how it works, and
Yeah.
just in a few sentences?
Yeah,
just to show how
definitely.
it is?
So we talked about in the lecture, we talked about the Web3 provider and the Hardhat plugin. The Hardhat plugin actually utilizes the Web3 provider. All right, so the plugin's code is actually using the Web3 provider. Now, what happens in the background is that this transaction is being sent to Fireblocks. So we're now making a contract call through our Vault BuildingBlocks, all right, to the Goerli chain. So we're sending a contract deployment transaction. As you can see, it's being broadcast right now. All right, so this will take a short while. Well, when this will be done, we'll actually get a nice message saying Space Bunnies deployed to and your new contract address. And there we have it. So let's just jump to Etherscan really quickly. Copy the contract address. So it's not verified yet. We won't see the actual functions, but we can see it was just deployed 1 minute ago from this address, which happens to be us. All right, so we have our contract. It's out there. Now, the last step we're going to go through is actually minting a token, and we'll also view it on Fireblocks. So we already have a mint script here for you. We're going to also put it under the scripts folder here. Now, we'd like to replace two things here. So the first one would be the contract address that we just received. And next, we're going to choose a URL for our image. All right, so we actually made a few cool Space Bunny images. I think I'll just select a random one. Yeah, this one looks pretty cool. And I'll replace the image URL here. All right. Let me close this one. So now we have the minting script ready. We can just run the mint script. And once again, we'll see a contract call being sent to Fireblocks using the safe mint transaction. So Fireblocks takes the ABI of the contract, parses the function that's passed into it, and it tells you, hey, you're doing a safe mint contract call to your contract. Another cool feature Fireblocks has is basically the confirmation policy. We're not confirming the transaction right away. You can choose to wait certain blocks or epochs until the transaction is actually finalized and you're good with it. So this will also take a short while. Once the transaction will be completed, we'll have a prompt message telling us, hey, your new Space Bunny has been minted to your, and we'll have our ETH address here. Let's wait for this to finish. All right, so we have the transaction completed here. I'll refresh Etherscan really quickly just so we'll see the transaction here. Now, what's really nice is if I'll go to the NFT tab here within Fireblocks, is I'll see my new Space Bunny here. So I already have two other Space Bunnies here that I deployed not too long ago, but there's our new guy. Now, if you're not fond of RUI and you want to get the token data using the API, I'll just copy this line here. And all I'm going to do is replace, once again, the Vault ID. And I'll run the script. So very similarly to the UI, we're getting a nice JSON with our token, its ID, the standard, and other cool stuff. Yeah, so that basically concludes the workshop. Once again, guys, if you found this interesting, please make sure you sign up for the early access to the developer sandbox. I will leave the QR code here, just so you can scan it, save it. And yeah, this will be available until tomorrow's eve.
This API key, sandbox.
Yep. Yeah, the sandbox will be available afterwards. The guide and these API keys will be available until tomorrow's eve. Thank you.